This week, the time has come to dive into the scary stories of our childhoods. Tell me, class, are you afraid of the dark? Oh, wait, that's the wrong one. Hold on, give me just a second now. Oh, yes. It's Goosebumps. Welcome, class, to Ghoul School. Unfortunately, Professor Richard Warlock's head has been torn from his body, so he will be out for a few days while he looks for it. In the meantime, please give a hand to your substitutes.
Hello and welcome to another period at the Ghoul School. I am Brian Stork. I'm a snake.
I am Nolan, living in the netherworld of Hanoi.
And I'm creepy old Caroline Knight.
And we're coming at you live from the Zoom world.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
this is our first remote podcast.
Yeah.
It's bad. It's bad to be in, I think.
I enjoy being in the same space as you boys, and I feel like not having your energy here is just leaning into my hermit nature.
So, generally, this is very strange and off-putting. Much like much of the works of the great literarian Mr. R.L. Stein.
Robert Lee Stein.
Ah, yes.
Yes, the superior Stephen King.
Yes, the master of fright. Who's ever even heard of Pennywise? No one.
Who's ever heard of Penneth and Wise Man?
So if you couldn't tell already, we're talking about Goosebumps this week.
Goosebumps.
The series of products as a whole.
Yeah. Generally, I don't remember them super well, but I remember these very specific moments from the books and the shows that are seared into my brain that I think we might touch on as we go through some of this stuff.
There are things that are seared in my brain, like the opening title theme.
Oh,
you know?
God. When I was rewatching the shows for my thing, I got punched in the brain by that song.
Punched in the brain. That's one of the recent books is R.L. Stein's Punched in the Brain.
The brain punches at midnight.
But seriously, you guys, that theme song started playing, and I was like, I forgot how much of a bop this is, and I started jamming. It's a good song.
Did y'all know that Ryan Gosling starred in an episode of Goosebumps?
Which one?
Which Ryan Gosling?
No.
So ding-dong.
Did you know also that Mr. Justin Timberlake also was in an episode of Goosebumps?
Now, Justin Timberwolf, is that anything?
Yes,
No.
but what I want to do tonight is I want to say titles of Goosebumps stories, and I want you to have to guess what they were about, and then after you guess, we're going to intersperse this segment throughout the entire episode, but then after you guys guess, we'll say what they actually were about.
Excellent.
And so let's kick it off with one of those. We'll start kind of vague. We'll start with one where there's nothing really to work with per se.
Great.
This one's
Perfect.
This one's called Stay Out of the Basement.
Stay out of the basement. Brian?
Okay, sure. All right. Stay
And
out.
no cheating.
All right. Stay Out of the Basement is a film book. It's a book that I'm making into a film this summer.
Yes.
And it's about
Coming summer 1997.
it's about a group of kids who there's that one house, that one spooky house on the end of the street that there always is. And this group of kids, they see this house all the time and they're like, "Oh man, old Mr.
Withers.
Old Mr.
Brimley.
Withers. Old Mr. Withers Brimley lives there. And he has all these wonderful, we know he's got all these wonderful secrets in there because he's creepy and weird and his house is scary. So we got to get in there and look around and be cool kids and stuff. So they go down to the end of they go down to the end of the street. They get in there. They break in. They break into this man's house. It really sounds a lot more violent when you say it like that. Like it happens in almost every spooky story. But
Yes.
they break and enter into this man's home.
They commit a crime.
And they're clambering around. They go down into the
what are they doing?
they're clambering and clawing all around.
Is that a word people say?
Yeah.
Clambering?
Clambering. They're clambering.
They're clambering.
There's only
clambering.
one.
Let the man speak, Noel.
There's only
The clamber
one.
walks at midnight.
No, the clamber clambers at midnight. They're clambering all over this place, and then finally, when they get into that sweet basement and they see where all the tricks and treats are inside, they find that it's just there's a lot of black mold. And like nothing actually happens.
That's
but
why
then,
they
like,
had to stay out of the basement, because they were going to get arrested for that.
like about 15 to 20 years later, they all have like some pretty severe like asthmatic problems related to the black mold.
Well, how long were they down in there?
I mean, they were like not super long, but they were getting scared by cuckoo clocks and like weird clown toys and stuff, and there was black mold in there the whole time. So
Right. So now, was this book written by R.L. Stine as like a PSA of like, don't go to your basement unless it's been inspected recently for black mold, because if you breathe in black mold, like that's not. So it was a PSA.
Well, I mean, the parents were on him. The parents' lobbies were on him because he was sticking all of his books. He personally, R.L. Stine himself, was sticking all his books in like the elementary school libraries.
Right.
And all the little
he was
kids
going elementary school to elementary school.
Like kind of a weird library Santa. He was just dropping these devil books into these places.
Like weirdly thin and gaunt and like dark haired.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
Everyone was like, "Who's that guy?"
Is that Jack Black himself?
Guys, I have a question
That is
for you.
Jack Black.
Do you ever remember purchasing a Goosebumps book, or were they always just around?
Absolutely not.
I don't.
I've never bought a Goosebumps.
They were always just in circulation or just in some teacher's like resource room, and they had like a little bookshelf, and it was like, oh yeah, there's Goosebumps books. But I don't remember anyone ever purchasing a Goosebumps book.
I can remember being given Goosebumps books, and I had a little shelf in my room that had like a row of Goosebumps books, but I don't know if I ever bought one. I think I stole some.
Oh, definitely.
Pretty sure I stole
libraries
some
and
from
such.
somebody. So Stay Out of the Basement is the second book in the original Goosebumps series. It was first published in 1992. Dr. Brewer is doing a little plant testing in his basement. Nothing to worry about. Harmless, really. But Margaret and Casey Brewer are growing worried about their father, especially when they meet some of the plants he's growing down there. Then they notice that their father is developing plant-like tendencies.
This is a very exciting cadence you're reading in right now.
And I'm trying to make it sexy. In fact,
by just pausing every 2 words.
In fact, he's becoming distinctly weedy and seedy. Is it just part of their father's harmless experiment, or has the basement turned into another little shop of horrors? You see what he did there?
Yeah, I saw.
Live plants, ... dead people?
Question mark?
Is he planting people in his plants and like growing dead people trees?
No, but I do know, spoilers.
Yeah.
I do remember at least the episode ends with there's 2 dads, and one of them is the real dad, and one of them is a plant that's like started to be like look like the dad.
Oh
Yeah.
shit,
And
I
then
remember this.
You remember this?
Yeah.
But I also remember the episode ends with actually something that's a little chilling, because like one of the girls is like gardening in their like the side yard, and they've got like a bed of flowers, and she keeps hearing the flowers say, "I'm your father, help me," which is just like, which is like spooky as fuck. Like that's pretty good. 'Cause
That's
you
good.
can never be sure if dad is the real dad, and but also, is it in her head? Is she just traumatized? Who knows?
Shit.
What a
Robert
thinker.
Lee Stein, he doesn't know.
You can't keep... Okay, I'm all in favor of trying to figure out what R.L. Stein stands for, but if you keep saying Robert Lee Stein, it starts to feel like genuine lying.
Yes, that's just being untruthful.
Like, for instance, I believe his
What do you
name
mean? I'm talking about Richard Limbaugh Stein.
I believe his name is Ringaling Stein, and you cannot tell me differently.
Ringling sign.
Ringling Brothers Stein.
Incredible.
All right. I've got a story to share with you all.
All right.
All right, book report.
This is my book report.
Book report with Brian Stork.
Ooh, I like that echo.
That was fun.
Okay. That was classy. All right. So, the spooky tale that I have brought to you today is episodes 4 and 5 of Goosebumps Season 1, titled Welcome to Camp Nightmare. Is written by Jeff Cohen, directed by Ron Oliver, based on Goosebumps book number 9.
Early one.
So this episode is fucking bonkers.
I'm so excited.
So essentially, the only part of this episode that I remembered, seared into my brain moment, is the very end.
Mm-hmm.
So the episode begins with this group of campers riding in a school bus to get to this camp in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the woods. We meet a bunch of kids who are all, fucking kids. And the only one who matters is Billy. Who, Billy.
Why is every boy in these fucking stories named Billy?
There are 4 names you're allowed to have in a Goosebumps story. Billy, Zach. There are two names you're allowed to have in a Goosebumps
What about
story.
the ladies?
Yeah, if you're a man. If you're a girl, you get Casey.
Beth.
Is it like Sarah or like Maggie?
Yeah. Okay, so girls get more names. But if you're a boy, there are
just
two
Billy or Zach.
There are 2 male genders. Billy and Zach.
You're either a Billy, you're a Zach. There's no in between.
Now this Billy is very much a Billy.
Okay.
He is he's a white boy as you would assume from the early Goosebumps show. He looks a lot like he's Leonardo DiCaprio in Titanic. That's who he is. Mm-hmm. He's got the haircut. That's his whole deal.
He looks like Aaron Carter, but not Aaron Carter.
Exactly. And so basically these kids get off the bus, and the bus driver is just like fucking throwing all their shit out of the bus, and they're like, hey, this isn't a camp, we're just in the woods, like, what's going on? And he's just throwing all their shit into the road. They're like, hey, like, do you, like, should we, like, is there something wrong with the bus? And Leonardo DiCaprio walks up and he's like, is there something going on with the bus? Do you want my help? Which is a weird fucking thing for a kid to say.
Yeah.
But
Wait a minute, was this actually played by Leonardo DiCaprio?
No, he's not Leonardo DiCaprio, but I'm going to keep referring to him as Leonardo DiCaprio. So the bus driver finishes throwing all of their shit into the road, gets in his bus, and just drives away. And the kids are just standing there alone in the woods. And they start bantering, and we find some really fascinatingly deep characters. There's Dawn, who is girl. There's
She's certainly a girl.
There's 3 boys. One of them is like a cool, like, kind of, he's got black hair.
Bad boy.
Bad boy, sort of. Though he's not really.
Did he sit in the back of the bus?
Probably. He's definitely a Zane, to be sure.
Okay.
Which is very similar to a Zach, but a little bit different.
It's a little edgier than a Zach.
Yeah.
Zach wears flannels.
Precisely. There are 2 other boys who are interchangeable, and then there's one boy who is the most annoying character I have ever seen in anything ever. His name, I believe, is Roger.
Of course.
And he's like the class clown character, except he does not make one joke the entire 2 episodes. All he does, he has this, it's basically just a verbal tick, where he'll be like, here, I'll make a Roger joke real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So like, say there's been like thunder or something and everybody's spooked about it. He can be like, oh man, that was some real thunder. That was some real thunder.
Oh.
So what he does is he just says what he said again, but with a
slightly different cadence.
In almost a Jerry Seinfeld voice.
Uh-huh.
What's the deal with this thunder?
Exactly. It's very bad to listen to and bad to experience in
right.
general.
I was going to ask, like, if he's apparently the class clown, but he's not making any jokes, is it just like everyone else, like, oh, Roger, he's the class clown, but then he's just like silent.
It's very close to that, but also it's like, now that I'm thinking about it, no one ever really reacts to his presence or like talks to him in any way. So maybe like that is the most realistic.
He is a ghost.
Because I feel like at camp, like I didn't go to camp that much as a kid, but I did a little bit. And I feel like there's always one kid who just has that exact speaking pattern that like we all know is just like as soon as you hear it, you're like, oh fuck, it's gonna be this guy the whole time. Yeah. That's him. Yeah. So anyway, they're standing around the woods for a while, and then some form of bear wolf monster, which is in the woods. It's like one of those things where you can like kind of see it, and it's like you can see it a little bit too much because it's not that good looking. Yeah, it's a cryptid, and it's like going and it's roaring at them. It's gonna eat them all up probably. And then suddenly, a massive explosion.
Like fire explosion?
Fiery explosion
what
that
other
reaches up above the trees.
would it be?
I am describing this to you exactly as it occurs.
Okay.
A massive explosion that like goes up above the trees. We cut back to the kids, like, huh? We cut to a tiny flare gun, I guess. A just miniature gun being held by this like kind of overweight guy with like a mustache, and he's wearing like a hat with the camp's name on it, and he lowers the gun, and there's this amazing like dolly shot around him, like circling him, and he lowers the gun and he's like, hello. It's just one of them little tools that we use, keeps them at bay. Anyway.
But this was like a world-ending explosion.
It was it reaches above the trees.
That's
it was
crazy.
A massive explosion. And he's like, anyway, I'm Uncle Al. I'm the director of the camp. And everyone's
First
like,
name Uncle, last name Al.
First name Uncle, last name Al. And all the kids are like, oh, cool, I guess. And they follow him toward where the camp is. Billy talks to Girl. And Girl introduces herself as Girl, and they have a little bit of a flirty-ish conversation. She introduces...
Can we get a description of what Goosebumps flirty is like?
Goosebumps flirty is two kids being reasonably nice to each other and being different genders.
Yes.
But it's treated as like a meet cute, like, oh, these two are gonna be a thing.
Yeah. It's like middle schoolers.
Yeah, it's middle schoolers. It's literally, and Billy brings up that his parents are scientists and they're always away.
What is up with Goosebumps and kids having
parents?
scientist parents?
Every parent in Goosebumps is a scientist.
Because how are you going to get them at science shit if one of them parents is not a scientist?
One of their parents got to be a scientist. But also, it's like vague. It's not like in Stay Out of the Basement, the dad's a botanist, but like it's always just like he does science.
Yes.
Yeah, he's one of those science people.
He does broad general science things.
I just imagine them being like stock photo scientists.
Yeah,
oh, yeah,
I mean they
absolutely.
are. They basically are. So he's like, yeah, my parents are scientists, and she's like, my parents are. I don't think she says what her parents are. She never knew her mom. Maybe, I don't know. That's what Girl says. But then they get split up into girls' camp and boys' camp. And we are with the boys for pretty much the rest of the time. We are also introduced to the off-limits, cabin, which is literally just a haunted house. Like he's like, they're like, hey, what's that over there? And then it like whips over to this decrepit, monstrous camp building that's got these like waving sheets in front of it, like little ghosts and stuff. And the guy's just like, oh, that's the off-limits camp. Don't go in there. He's like,
stay out of the off-limits camp.
Stay out of the off-limits camp. He's like, stay clear of it, and you won't have a problem. And you're like, okay.
Is it like an employees only thing, or is it just because it's haunted? Because if it's haunted, just demolish it.
Demolish it. I don't know why you've kept it standing. Also, by the way, when the kids ask what that werewolf thing was, he's like, oh, he calls it by name. He says, oh, that's Saber. Saber will not bother you as long as you stick to the paths. Spoiler alert, that's not true.
Wonderful.
If you stick to the paths, you are not safe from Saber.
Cool.
So anyway, the boys get to their to their dorms, and immediately the smallest kid, who is one of the boys, gets bitten by a snake. It's in his bed, and the kids are like, well, shit. And Billy's like, I know what to do. Let's wrap it in the sheet and throw it out the window. Like, instantly, he's ready to go for this shit. So they do that, and it works. And then they're like, okay, this kid needs to go to the hospital. And then their, like, personal counselor, like, their, like, the teenage counselor, comes in, and they're like, "Oh, hey, this kid got bitten by a snake," and he's like, and they're like, and he should probably go to a hospital. He's like,
we should deal with this.
and he's like, just like wash it off, and they're like, that's not how snakes work.
Wash it off.
And he's like, what do you want me to do? What are you, a bunch of wusses? And he's like, and Billy steps up, and he's like, this kid needs to see the nurse. And he's like, what nurse? And he's like, you don't have a nurse? And they're like, nope. What do you think this is? A camp for wusses?
Wonderful.
I mean, what do they think this is?
There is no nurse. There is no doctor. The kid just bandages it. It just gets it bandaged up.
Now,
I mean, if they don't think it's a poisonous snake, I get it. But if they don't know,
Yeah.
Right.
ugh.
You should
Now-
at least look at his leg.
Yeah.
What? And it's his arm too. It's like his
it's his arm.
forearm. Yeah.
No, thank
And
you.
also, question. You brought up an interesting question there. What is the sign-up process
Yeah.
like?
How do you sign up to go to Camp Nightmare?
Because Girl, when she's talking to Billy, she mentions that like her parents looked around and that this was like one of the best camps. How?
But where did they look around?
Where were they? Were
Did they
looking
actually
at-
visit any of these places? Is the question.
Yeah.
Did they?
It was-
Was it like a babysitter thing where you have like the tearaway like numbers, and they just saw a sign that said "Best camp around"?
Probably.
This one.
This camp is camp. Camp is good. Come to camp. So then we move to the bonfire where they're singing a song about how they're the coolest and the strongest people.
Oh,
while this kid is
wonderful.
this kid is just dying of a snake bite over against a tree. The Uncle Al comes over and he's like, and he sees that the kid's been bitten by a snake because Billy, our good friend Billy, is like talking to the kid, and the camp counselor comes over and he's like, why did you interrupt my song?
Oh,
And Billy's like, because this kid got fucking bitten by a snake
he's
and he's
dying as we
and
speak.
and Uncle Al is like, why the fuck wasn't I told about this to the counselor? And the counselor's like, and he's like, all right, well, don't worry, kid, because I've seen tons of bites in my 23 years running this camp, and I'm telling you right now, you're gonna be fine. Go, when you wake up in the morning, the pain will be gone, I promise. And the kid's like, okay. Next morning, he's gone, just gone. There's none of his stuff is there. None of his stuff is there.
Can't
He
feel
didn't have.
pain
He doesn't
if
have sheets.
you're a ghost.
He's fully gone. None of the counselors will acknowledge that he ever existed. Then we start to get into what's going on here, which is that one by one, these boys are disappearing or just straight up being killed.
It's one of those.
Yeah. They're playing baseball at one point, and Zane, our cool Zane guy, gets hit in the back of his head with a baseball at like Mach speed by the teenage counselor, like on purpose because he's a dick. And he gets a concussion. He doesn't die. He gets a concussion. And they're like, "Oh, walk it off. You're fine."
Like, how fast are we talking?
There's a massive dent in his helmet. Like we see it. Like the back of his helmet is like in.
Like a baseball helmet?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Damn shit's
Damn.
thick.
And this kid can't speak anymore for a while.
Yeah.
Then it's that night, and our group of boys have been chosen to be the first kids to have to like sleep in tents in the woods, which is like a survival camp, I guess.
Sounds intense.
Which is weird because they're already down a man and their other kid has a concussion. Do you just say sounds intense?
Yeah.
Okay, so so obviously they get attacked by Saber, who just loves these kids in their tents. And one of the kids gets eaten off screen. We hear about it. The rest of them get chased into the cabin, and the wolf is like banging on the door. Saber is banging on the door. They have to keep watch all night. The next day comes. Camp counselor comes in. He's like, "What's wrong with you kids? Why aren't you in your tents outside?" And they're like, "Dude, fucking kid got killed, man." And he's like, "You kids are dumb."
This is the point where you're like, okay, kids, let's get back on the bus that exploded, and we're taking you home. Like, this is over.
Well, Billy tries to make a call. He tries to like call home to his parents because they've also been told to write letters to their parents like every day. But
Gosh,
he
that
tries.
would get annoying as a parent.
They have to do it twice a day. Yeah, they have to do it twice a day. Imagine
Oh,
having to
no.
read that shit every. Yeah.
What?
That's too
How
much.
much are you gonna update them on?
Well, I guess a lot because another
Hi,
kid
Mom,
died.
it's morning.
That's true.
Hi,
You're
Mom,
right.
it's night, and somebody got murdered.
Somebody
Yeah.
got murdered again.
Billy tries to make a call on like a payphone thing, and he like pulls the phone out, and it just like pulls in half, and the whole phone thing just pops off. And Uncle whatever his name is, Al, comes over and he's like, "Oh ho ho, you found my trick phone. That's a little joke I like to do." And Billy's
the
like,
phone made of cake.
And Billy's like, "Okay, well, where's the real phone?" And he's like, "Oh, there isn't one." So he's like, so Uncle Al's like, "So where are you supposed to be right now?" And he's like, "The lake." And he's like, "Oh, you'll have fun at the lake." Spoiler alert, he doesn't have fun at the lake.
Yeah, it doesn't sound
The
like
lake
he
is
will.
not a good time.
Also,
So he
like,
goes down to the lake.
how does
Yeah.
any parent feel safe sending their kids there if they're like, yeah, we don't have a phone or a doctor
Yeah,
or a way out?
There's
Because they apparently didn't research it at all.
yeah, camp is good.
But
come
how
to
do you
camp.
call them to schedule your child if there's no phone?
Yeah, I don't know how this business works. But there's also a very creepy rat man whose name is George. He doesn't matter. But he's
Wait,
here.
no, that's awesome. No, you are going to have to elaborate on
He's
that.
okay. Wait, let me specify because this is Goosebumps. He is not a rat. He is a man
Who
who
looks
looks
like a
very
rat,
much
yeah.
to me like a rat. Anyway, so Billy goes down to the lake where terrible teenage murderer camp counselor is watching Billy's only two remaining friends, who are both on the same canoe, swimming, battling around. And it's interesting because the camp counselor's like, "Hey, get the fuck back here. You're not wearing life jackets." And they're like, "We're fine." And you're thinking,
Dude, all of your friends have been dying. You
And also,
should-
it's like, you guys have been doing a shitty enough job to where a bunch of our fellow campers are already dead. Why do you worry about us having life jackets on?
yeah,
Yeah,
but you would
and
think
it's-
as the child, you'd be like, all of my friends are getting moited. I should probably put on a life jacket so I don't also get moited.
and it's wild because the camp counselor is like really trying to not let these kids die. Like he's throwing them like life vests and stuff as they're like in there. And they just are not going for it. Like the life vest hits the water, one of them like kind of reaches for it, and the boat just fucking capsizes. Both of them go underwater. Billy is like, "I gotta get in there to go get him," and the camp counselor's like, "No, you fucking idiot, you're not going in the water also." And he's like, "Well, you go in the water," and he's like, "No," because he's terrible. And Billy basically is like fighting the camp counselor. The camp counselor shoves Billy into the water, and the camp counselor then goes, "I was never here," and runs off. So he's just letting these three kids die.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Billy cannot find the other two kids.
Goosebumps?
Yeah, Goosebumps is going wild here. Billy cannot find the other two kids. They're gone. Billy runs out of the lake. It's like night is falling. He gets chased by Saber again, while I want to add sticking to the path. He's doing what he can. Saber chases him back to his dorm. He like locks the door. He has a mini freak out. Less of a freak out than you would think necessary of a kid who just watched 3 people die.
Yeah, they seem oddly calm.
Yeah, he's very calm about it. Well, he's very cool. He's Leonardo DiCaprio. So he has a moment where he's freaking out and he's just going, "Get it together, get it together," and then he gets it together.
Oh, hell yeah.
And he has a suit up montage, which I shit you not consists entirely of him putting on a different t-shirt, lacing up his sneakers, and holding a baseball bat.
I'm proud of him.
So Billy goes to spooky off-limits camp place, where he finds Girl. And Girl is like, "Hey, some real fucked up shit's been happening over at my camp." And she describes basically the same thing that's been going on with Billy.
People being murdered
And so-
one by one methodically, it'd be like that.
Right. So they decide to investigate together, and they find all of the letters that they've been sending are just being stored in this building.
I don't like
And
that.
including like letters from other years, like
Oh,
years
no.
ago. Like none of these
So
letters
this
have
is
ever
a
been sent.
child murder camp.
Right. So then they hear some clamoring outside, and they kind of look out, and Billy sees that it's Uncle Al and terrible camp counselor and George the Rat Man and all of the kids, and they are now wearing like military uniforms,
Cool.
or I guess
Uh-oh.
just camo, but it's pretty intense camo. And they are passing out crossbows.
To children.
And Uncle Al is like, we got a whole thing we got to do. And Billy's like, "Okay, I'm going to go investigate this," which is a wild thing to decide to do.
Yeah, it's a really odd thing to
Don't
decide to
get
do.
shot with a crossbow, child.
And Girl is like, "I'm not going to do that, but you have fun."
Please don't get got.
So Billy rushes out there, And the counselor, Uncle Al, is like, "Oh, Billy, where you been? Get in line." And Billy's like, "What the fuck is happening?" He's like, "Take a crossbow." And Billy takes a crossbow. He's like, "What the fuck is happening?" And Uncle Al's like, "Well, we've heard from the girls' camp that one of the girls has gone missing. She's run off, and we got to make sure that she doesn't get hurt."
So here's a crossbow.
And Billy's like, "By shooting her with a crossbow?" And he's like, "Don't worry, Billy. These are tranquilizer darts."
Bro.
Which is still pretty bad.
No, you can't do that.
They're still just darts that you would shoot into a person, into a child. And Billy is like,
with a lot of
"I'm not gonna
from a crossbow."
And Billy's like, "I'm not gonna do that. There's some real fucked up stuff happening at this camp. All of my friends have died." And he's like, he starts listing like what happened to them, and he's like, "None of those people go to this camp. None of those people have ever existed." He like asks the teenage camp counselor, like, have you heard of any of these people? And the camp counselor's like, "Nope, I haven't." He asks George the Rat Man. George the Rat Man's like,
Wait, can I get that one more time?
He's like,
oh yeah. That's some really good writing.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And then Uncle Al goes, Listen, Billy, sometimes when people are homesick long enough, they start to imagine things. You gotta get your head straight,
They're
Billy.
gaslighting this child.
And Billy goes, "That's fucking stupid," and he points the crossbow at Uncle Al. And Uncle Al is like,
"Yo, Billy like got radicalized." Like,
Oh yeah.
And Uncle Al is like, "What are you doing, Billy?" And Billy's
what's
like,
it look like I'm doing? I'm pointing a crossbow at you.
And it's pretty, and also it starts doing these like wild like angles and like jump cuts on Uncle Al, and Uncle Al is like, "Listen, Billy, you're gonna regret this." And Billy goes, "No, I won't," and he shoots him.
What the fuck?
Power.
And Uncle Al like reels back, and then he goes, "Congratulations, Billy," and he looks at the kids and goes, "Hey everybody, Billy passed. Billy passed the test." And all the kids start applauding, and the terrible camp counselor comes up behind him and he's like, "Hey, good job, man. You did a really good job." And Billy's like, "What the fuck?" And then Billy's parents, the scientists, come out and they're like, "Billy, you did a great job. We knew you'd pass the test."
What?
And Billy's like, "What are you talking about? What
This
test?"
is just a big science experiment.
Uncle Al says, wait, I have the exact line written here just so that I get it exactly right. Uncle Al says, "This," and he says it in exactly this tone, "This isn't a summer camp, Billy. It's a government testing lab."
You dumbass.
Yeah.
Testing lab.
Idiot. This is a government testing lab. I can't believe you didn't figure that out, you dumb child.
All of the dead kids come out and they're like, "Hey, what's up, man? Like, bet we tricked you." And Billy's like, "Oh man, you really had me going there, guys." Now they do explain how the kids who capsized survived, that they were like in an air pocket in the boat. Mm-hmm. But they do not explain how the kid who got fucking whacked in the back of the head with a baseball in plain view of everyone isn't dead. They don't explain that one.
Didn't he also shot Uncle Al with a crossbow?
Well, it was like a trick.
Oh, the tranquilizer
something,
dart.
or you have
Okay,
like
you're
a-
right. You're right.
yeah. Most of them make sense, but there are some pretty glaring ones that don't.
Now, has it seeded any ideas these entire 2 episodes that this is a government training facility?
I'm gonna circle back to that, I think, because I did have some thoughts on that. Okay. But then Saber like leaps out and he's like, "Roar," and Billy's like, "Oh shit," and everyone's like, "Whoa," and then it's George the Rat Man is piloting. It's a robot. It's not just like a suit. It's like an animatronic robot. And he's like, "Oh, this is fun." Yeah.
This is so dumb.
Uncle Al is like, "Make it roar, George," and he's like, and he makes it roar. And
I was sick. Hell yeah,
and then the parents go, and Billy's like, "Well, what was all this for?" And the parents are like, "Well, Billy, you know how we're always away on our cool science trips. Well, the next one that we're going on is super dangerous, but we're going to be away for a long time, and we wanted to take you with us, but the government wouldn't let us unless you passed some tests."
Unless we turned you into a super soldier.
Unless we turned you into Captain America, yeah, Captain Billy. and Billy is like, "Oh, really?" And then the dad comes over and he's like, "Well," and I have the exact lines of dialogue written here. The dad says, "Better go get your things packed, Billy. We're leaving first thing in the morning." And Billy asks, "Where are we going?" And his mom answers, very far away, a place called Earth. And it pans up to the sky,
You're
and
joking.
the Earth is floating in the sky overhead.
You're
What
joking.
on what?
It's about
The
aliens.
twists,
I'm just fuck.
the emotional
fuck?
roller coaster.
They were aliens.
I honestly just feel like
The twist on a twist is a bold move.
Yeah. So this kid's been getting trained to infiltrate the Earth.
Wonderful.
I just feel like Ricardo Limbosa Stein was just like
Yeah.
he had like a list of categories like on a wall.
Yeah.
And he was actually throwing darts at the wall to pick out like what was this story gonna be about.
And okay, so here's so is it seeded throughout the story? Short answer is no. But there are some little things that feel more like production things than story things. But like every character in this feels like they're reading from a script constantly because they're not acting well. But it could also be because they're all actors in this government theater troupe that is designed to test this kid. So yeah, that is the classic 2-part episode. Welcome to Camp Nightmare. It's an aliens one. We're doing aliens this time.
Wow.
Beautiful.
They did aliens
Thank
that
you
time.
for this book report.
All right. Let's see. This one's called The Horror at Camp Jelly Jam.
The horror at Camp Jelly Jam.
Mm-hmm.
Camp Jelly Jam.
Camp Jelly
Jam.
You can't just
Do that.
those are jelly and jam are two different things.
You're not.
Okay, that's a whole other discussion.
I think it's actually illegal to title a book that.
Yeah.
I think that's against the law, Mr. Richard Linklater Stein.
Honestly, what I think happens in this delightful story,
Collaborate on this. I want to
the
hear what ideas
horror
you come up with
at
together.
Camp Jelly Jam.
Okay,
I'll start you off.
we can workshop this.
So, some kids arrive at Camp Jelly Jam.
Yeah.
Everything's sticky. Just everything. Absolutely.
But why is it sticky?
Fruit.
Okay.
Fruit's all
sticky.
over the place.
Fruit sticky.
Constant
It's got a
fruit.
case of the fruit sticky.
Yeah. And then Mr. Willy Wonka comes out and he says, "I've made a terrible mistake. I need
Not even Willy Wonka, just Gene Wilder himself.
because
out.
because his whole thing, right? The chocolate see, he's grabbing one of the kids, he's shaking him, and he's saying the chocolate factory, it worked because kids love eating fucking chocolate all the goddamn time. So when we'd make chocolate, like, and everything was made of chocolate, kids would be eating it, and it would just circle. But this is all fruit and shit, and a lot of kids don't even eat that fucking stuff.
The kid's like, ah!
Yeah,
Everything's sticky.
there's
And
jam
if
raining
they
from
want
the
jam or
skies.
jelly, they just want peanut butter too. But we don't have any peanut butter.
We do not. I cannot stress enough how much peanut butter we don't have. We are a jam-based economy, and we are collapsing.
But wait. You're a jam-based economy, but what about the jelly part? Jelly comes first in the name of the camp.
I would say it's more of a jam-based economy because I feel like some jelly is jam,
Right.
Right.
but like jam is not jelly.
It's squares and rectangles.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on the difference between the
No, I can't.
two? Okay. All right, that's fine. Second podcast idea, Jelly Talk with Carol, Brian, and Nolan.
Yeah. Where I just teach you guys how to make preserves.
Okay.
So
no,
anyway,
here's
Willy Wonka's trying to force all the kids to eat the fruit because there's too much fruit.
Yeah, it's like Candyland, but sticky and wiggly and made of
right.
fruit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, where does the horror really just about like the kids are like, I'm not hungry anymore, and he's like force feeding them to death, and that's the horror part?
There's a lot of different horrors in this camp made of jelly.
There's
because
no bread.
What kind of flavors are we talking?
no bread, no peanut butter,
Yeah.
and like imagine the feeling of sinking into like a quicksand pit of jelly.
Yeah.
That's not good. That's pretty horrible.
I kind of like it.
No.
See, well, no. See,
pervert.
you're the monster kid. You're the one who turns it around and
Oh.
becomes the nightmare at Camp
I'm the
Jelly
key.
Jam. Yeah.
I'm the catalyst.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh
all
yeah,
right,
like
so,
one kid just is so obsessed with jelly that like he eats so much that he turns into a jelly monster.
Yeah, and the kids
Oh.
the kids are like going on a whole quest to try to get to like the creation mechanism of the jelly that's constantly producing
Yeah.
jelly and jam.
Wait a
And
minute,
they
wait a
finally
minute.
get there. They finally get there and they're like, we have to shut this thing off. And then Nolan is like
And then literally me within
Yeah.
the story, not me playing someone, me
Right.
in the story.
he is like he breaks the lever and it's just gonna keep producing jelly and jam forever.
And what do I say? What do I say? Give me a line.
Said, "Let's jam."
I was about to say let's jam.
And I say, let's jam. We just came up with a prequel for Rotten Lettuce's masterpiece, The Blob That Ate Everyone.
Yeah.
True.
This is You're the
You
Blob That Ate
become
Everyone.
The blob.
Yeah.
So the horror at Camp Jelly Jam is the 33rd book in the original Goosebumps book series. It was first published in 1995. The cover illustration depicts a Camp Jelly Jam counselor with a strange, wide grin on his face. The classic Goosebumps cover illustration features King Jelly Jam inside his cave holding a mop.
What?
I don't know. Blurb. Swimming, basketball, archery. King Jelly Jam Sports Camp has it all. Too bad Wendy isn't a total sports freak like her brother Elliot. But how excited can you get over a game of softball? It's just a game, right? Wrong! That was all caps. Because Camp Jelly Jam is no ordinary sports camp. And Wendy's about to find out why.
Wow.
Why the I'm not done.
Oh.
Why the counselors seem a little too happy. That's kind of odd that that's in there. Okay, anyway. A little too obsessed with winning, and why the ground is always rumbling late at night. It's not whether you win or lose, it's how you stay alive.
Okay, that's not even a good pun on the phrase.
No, it's not. I don't even know what pun you're talking about.
It's just not a good turn of phrase.
Not a pun, but a play on. It's not whether you win or lose; it's how you play the game.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I didn't even get that it was...
It's not whether you win or lose; it's if you don't die. Okay.
Book report with Caroline Knight.
I like that no matter what the musical beginning is, the ending is always the same.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm gonna have so much fun with this.
Miscellaneous musical sting. So, I had the treat of watching a Goosebumps 2-part special called The Haunted Mask.
Oh, fuck yes.
So, The Haunted Mask was a book that I didn't really remember very much, but I remember parts of the show, and I remembered like very specific images. I remember a scene where like the girls are yelling at each other that is incredibly frightening later on. I also got to watch this with my mom, which was very fun. So it opens actually with an introduction from R.L. Stine.
Really?
Yeah. And he's like, "Welcome. I hope you have a spooky time watching The Haunted Mask." And he's like in a room full of masks, and he's like, "Don't worry, all of this isn't real," and stuff like that. I'm like, all right. So we open with some kids going to a novelty shop, and there's a weird man inside, and he watches them, and it's weird. And this is when I ran into one of the first problems that I have watching Goosebumps now as an adult, is that there's always a creepy adult. And I don't like that, because watching it now with context, I'm like, pedophile.
Yeah, it does
Uncomfortable.
It does always ring pedophile.
It never enters that territory, but it always makes you think it might.
Yeah.
So these kids, they stop by the novelty shop, weirdo man watches them, and then they go to a pumpkin patch, and they're trying to pick out pumpkins, and then it turns out 2 of the pumpkins were 2 of the class clown boys hanging out in the dirt with pumpkins on their head, and they get up and they scare our main character, whose name is Carly Beth.
Oh boy.
Damn, we got 2 in 1.
Yeah. Carly Beth is terrified of everything. Literally, somebody says boo to her and she fucking jumps. So she gets terrified by these boys coming out of the dirt. It is not a pleasant experience for her. And her friend Sabrina is with her, and she's like, why do people keep making fun of me? Why do people keep scaring me? And Sabrina's like, well, you're just so scarable. I'm like, damn, Sabrina, all right. So she gets home. Her mom was like, where were you? Like, what's wrong with you? And you look scared. And she was like, yeah, they scared me. And she's like, oh, okay. And turns out her mom has made a creepy plaster bust of her head. Her daughter's head. Carly Beth's head.
Yeah, I remember. Okay, yeah.
And it's hollow. It's very weird. Her mom's very overbearing.
Sounds like a Carrie situation.
Yeah. My mom did at one point say, is she gonna turn into Carrie? So she picks up the bust of her head and she's like, it's kind of creepy. And then it winks at her.
Oh my god.
And she's like, Mom, this thing fucking winked at me. Like, that's terrifying. And her mom's like, oh, Carly Beth, you're so easily scared.
What?
That happens to me in the mirror every morning.
That's because you do wink at yourself.
I will say, y'all, this bust is never explained.
Oh, really?
It is never explained why this bust can move. So, and I will also note that all VFX in this whole thing, any digital effect, has this weird jitter to it that you can tell that they just sort of like couldn't quite do it right.
It was
and
just
it
a little
couldn't
too
quite
early.
render properly.
Well, that's
Yeah.
a lot of
So-
a lot of Goosebumps is couldn't quite
Yeah.
render that properly.
So it's like you'll have a still object, and then the second they start manipulating it in post, it just starts to shake. And you're like, oh, cool. Her mom's like, I made you a duck costume and you should go try it on. And Carly Beth's like, I don't want to be a duck. I want to be something scary this year. I'm tired of people scaring me all the time. And she's like, Carly Beth, just go try on the duck costume. And she goes to her room and her little sister is wearing the duck costume and scares the shit out of Carly Beth. She attacks her in this duck costume and is like, and Carly Beth screams. Because she's a little bitch.
Yeah.
And she's like, you can't scare me like that. And the little sister is like, she goes to school, and the boys who scared her in the pumpkin patch are like, listen, we apologize for scaring the shit out of you. We have brought a peace offering. Here, take this extra sandwich my mom made.
Something tells me this isn't a peace offering.
She takes a bite out of the sandwich and there's a worm in it.
What the fuck?
Ooh, wow.
That's so fucked up.
She freaks out, and then the whole school laughs at her. The
What?
entire school. Like, everyone, because they're all, like, sitting outside at lunch tables when she's doing this. So she takes a bite of the thing, she spits it out, and she goes, oh my god, a worm! And everybody's like, ha ha, Carly Beth, scaredy cat. And I'm like, oh my god.
Brian and
feel
I
like-
talked about this last night.
Yeah.
But the way that bullies are depicted in like shows and books for kids is just so not real. It's just
Yeah.
not how it
Yeah.
is.
They're murderers.
Yeah. That's psychopathic to do that to somebody.
So she goes home, she's really upset, and she destroys the duck costume on her bed. She's like, I'm pissed off. I'm going to the novelty shop. I'm going to get me a scary mask. So she goes to the novelty shop, which is terrifying on the inside. It is completely pitch black in there. There's dust like flying through the air. Nobody's in there. It looks like it's closed. That's because it is closed. And there's like spooky shit everywhere. So for a kid who's scared of everything, I'm like, how is she so comfortable in this novelty shop? She's like bebopping around. She's like, let me go pick something out. I'm like, bro, I would be scared right now. So she goes and she looks around. She can't find a mask that's scary enough. She goes through this back door where there are these extra scary masks.
The real shit.
They're really scary. They're very upsetting. So she finds all of these things. She's like touching them and looking at them. She's about to grab one of the masks, and Spooky Man comes into the back and yells at her. He's like, stop! Don't touch those! You can't take those! And he says this quote, those masks aren't for sale. They're too scary.
Can you imagine?
Sir, why do you have them in your mask store?
Can you imagine how the scary arms race would accelerate if these masks were on the streets?
Yeah.
If the U.S. government got
It's
a
like-
hold of these masks?
They're too dangerous for me to distribute legally to a child.
We're talking about escalation here.
Do you want me to have the CIA on my ass?
So, naturally, she steals the mask and runs away from him. And then she looks at it when she gets outside the door and is like, what am I doing? Turns around and he's just shuts the door. He's like, fuck them kids. Like, take the scary mask. Get got.
Indeed. Fuck them kids.
So she goes home. She scares her little sibling. The sibling's like, how did you do that, Carly Beth? Like, your voice changed and everything. And she's like, I don't know. And then she tries to take the mask off and it gets stuck. And we're like, oh no, is the mask gonna be like stuck on her? And no, it comes off and she's fine.
No.
So she decides she's gonna go to the Halloween party where the boys who make fun of her are, so she can get back at them. She's gonna spook them to death. So she puts on the mask. She takes the bust of her from the mantle where her mom had put it.
Jeez, on the mantle?
Yeah. And she puts it on a stick with a red scarf, so it looks like she is her own decapitated head on a stick, and she's wearing the scary mask, and she
That's
puts
cool.
on, like, a black
Symbolism.
robe. It's kind of dope.
Yeah.
So she goes to her friend Sabrina's house from before, who's like, you're so scareable. And she's like, Carly Beth, like, that's really scary. I am deeply upset by this. Like, I am uncomfortable. And she's like, it's fine. Let's just go to the party. It's going to be so much fun. And she's like, okay. And then Carly Beth's like acting like a real freak. She's like screaming and laughing like a little goblin. She does this laugh where she's like, I'm like, oh, stop. And then Carly Beth starts like shaking around and screeching. Cut to black, end of episode.
Holy that's the episode break?
Damn.
That's the episode break.
Wow.
I mean,
It's really good.
I remember these being really like traumatizing, but that's like a dark way to leave an 8-year-old, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, part 2, we resume exactly where it left off. She's shaking and screaming. And then she's like, gotcha. And Sabrina's like, what the fuck was that? That was scary as shit. And she's like, no, I was just joking. I was just trying to scare you. Did I scare you? And Sabrina's like, yes, you're terrifying me. Please take off the mask. That's very upsetting. And then she touches the mask on Carly Beth and says, oh, that's weird. And Carly Beth's like, what? And she says, it feels like real skin.
She's becoming one with the mask.
It's warm and everything. And I'm like, oh.
Nothing like some warm skin.
Yep. So they go trick-or-treating at this one house. She scares the little kid and the mom. The little kid is like, I'm afraid of this mask. And the mom's like, oh no, don't worry. Like, it's just another trick-or-treater. And she goes up to this kid, gets in his face, and is like, you'll be sorry if you cross me. And the kid like freaks out. And then like she starts being creepy at the mom, and the mom's like, I'm gonna call the police. Like, please stop. And Sabrina catches up to her and is like, dude, what are you doing? She said that she was gonna call the cops. And Carly Beth says, the mask made me do it. Which, girl, if the mask made you do that, take off the mask.
Yeah.
Just remove it. So she decides that, quote, this is my night. And she gets really excited and starts like jumping around and causing mayhem. Like the little goblin she has become. So the mean boys go to the graveyard, and Carly Beth continues to terrorize her way towards the graveyard, slowly but surely. The boys scare each other in like a fake out, and then one of the boys is like, oh, do you hear something? And it's like Carly Beth hiding around a tree, and she like comes at them, scares them. She yells at them in the third person and is like, you should apologize to Carly Beth. And they're like, aren't you Carly Beth? And she's like holding her head on a stick and is like, apologize to her, and like freaking them out. It's really unsettling. And they're like, I'm sorry. They run away. The head moves and says, help me, to the boys. It's like, help me. And they're like, how did you do that, Carly Beth? Stop. after the boys have run off, she does a cartwheel, by the way. Super sick.
Cool.
Badass.
She buries the bust of her in the graveyard and says, "Bye-bye, scaredy cat." And it's super weird. Sabrina catches up with her again and is like, "Yo, what is going on? I keep losing you and you seem crazy." And she's like, "Yeah, I guess I got kind of lost." And she seems like really unnerved by the fact that she's like turning into a goblin. Suddenly she's like, "I don't feel like myself. I kind of want to go home." So they go to Sabrina's house and they try to take her out of the mask. And this is where like the trauma because they try to take out the mask and they can't get it off of her. And she's panicking inside of this mask. She's like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna die in here. Like, get it off me, get it off me, get it off me." And then they see that there's no line at the edge of the mask. And then she's like, "Where's the edge? Where's the edge of the mask?" And then she goes into the mirror and she says, "Those aren't my eyes."
Ooh.
So good. It's so good.
That's a
It's so
terrifying
scary.
line.
And
That's
she turns
really
to Sabrina and she says, "It's not me in here anymore." And I went,
wow.
"This is for children."
Holy shit.
So scary.
So she freaks the fuck out. Sabrina's like, "Stay here, I'm gonna call my mom." And Carly's like, No, I have to go. So she runs to the novelty shop, like full speed, and busts in and is like, "Creepy man, get this mask off of me, get this mask off of me." He's like, I can't do it, can't happen. And she's like, "Oh my god, like, what do I do? And he says, "This is your face now."
Damn.
Wow.
Because the masks are all real faces that used to be beautiful. So the creepy man apparently has like a fucked up face and he makes these beautiful faces that he puts on himself, but then they slowly turn ugly because, quote, "the flaws are on the inside." So all of these masks like used to be handsome men and have slowly deteriorated through him being like ugly on the inside, I guess.
Became spicy boys.
So she freaks out and is like, no, like, you don't understand. I have to get this off of me right now. This isn't what I wanted. This isn't who I am. And then as she's freaking out, the masks start floating in the air.
I remember this.
And
This is
they
like really
come
uncanny valley.
menacing. It's terrible. The VFX look awful, but it's like upsetting. And they're floating towards her. And she runs out the door, and they still follow her. And they're like, "Love us, Carly Beth. Save us, Carly Beth. Join us, Carly Beth." So then she digs up the bust of her head and is like, "This is me. This is who I am." And it scares all the floating masks away. And then she can finally take the mask off of her head. And then she comes home and hugs her mom and cries. And then the little sibling puts on the mask.
Uh-oh. Ooh.
The end.
Son of Mask.
Actually, yeah.
Son of Mask. Without Jim
This
Carrey.
one, like,
Yeah.
the first part is goofy, but the second half of the second episode is genuinely
I was gonna say,
terrifying.
it sounds genuinely scary. Like, scary, obviously, to a kid, but then, like, I almost think it would be more bothersome as an adult.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's like
You know?
this sort of existential horror of these aren't my eyes and it's not
That's
me
so
in this mask
scary.
anymore.
Yeah.
That's scary.
That seems like a running theme of Goosebumps, is that like 90% of it is like B-movie schlock stuff, and then it'll just
But
hit
then
you
there's
with
that one
something.
bit.
Yeah, one little thing that'll stick with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
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 Like one little bit of trauma just to sprinkle in there so that your child brain latches onto that, and then you wake up in a sweat 20 years later and you're like, "Oh god, what the fuck
Does
was
that
that?"
sort of make it in a way more effective than some of the like Stephen King stuff that immediately
Yes.
turns kids away, being like, "This is not what I'm supposed to be looking at"? But Goosebumps gets you in there for the whole time.
Yeah.
To read
It
150
weasels its
books.
way in.
Yeah. Nolan, do you want to do one more spooky improv session?
Why, yes, Brian.
Give us that title.
All right, this one is called Beware of the Purple Peanut Butter.
Ooh.
This is just okay. This has to
This
be a
is a
sequel.
sequel.
This has to be a sequel, or it's a like sidequel
Yeah.
where the peanut.
Willy Wonka has decided to expand
Right.
because he was like, "All right, y'all are yelling at me about the peanut butter because I got the jelly and the jam. I hear you."
He's starting a franchise.
Can I
Yeah.
can I pitch this at you?
Yes.
Yes.
Hit me with it.
It's a war movie.
Oh.
And
Ooh.
so Nolan has activated the jam machine and no one can stop it.
When let's flash back. Let's recap for the audience.
Right.
Let's jam.
No! What? And then Willy Wonka's staring at it in one tear, and he goes, "What have I wrought?" And then flash forward. It's 6 years later. The jam has overtaken half of the world, and it's up to Willy Wonka, he's got one arm and an eye patch, and it's and it's up to Willy Wonka to create the only thing that can hold the jam back. An equally destructive factory of peanut butter.
Now, meanwhile, it's like a Mortal Engines thing, and I built a rolling city that lives on top of the jam.
It's the factory. It's the camp factory.
Yes,
it's on top
factory.
of it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I am on a quest to find Willy Wonka.
Because he's the
Don't
only.
I
kill
know,
him
because
because you know
I
that
know
he's trying to fight back.
In our last battle, I took his arm, and I took his arm and his eye, and he took my tongue, so I can't taste the jam anymore.
Ooh,
And so I'm also mute.
That's good. Wonderful. But he also took a vial of the jam, so that now he can create the peanut butter that will specifically counteract your jam.
Defeat that jam.
Specific to your mutant jam.
Right.
Which is why it has to be purple.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. But okay, now so we have this conflict.
Uh-huh.
Is Willy Wonka our protagonist, or do we have an avatar for the audience?
Yeah.
That is the
There
protagonist.
is a small child named Trevor who just kind of follows Willy Wonka around.
Can we give him a different name?
Tyler.
Are we against Trevor? Well, there's two genders. It's either Billy or Zach. What's his name?
Okay.
So he's Zach. He's a Zach.
He's a Zach for sure.
Okay, he's a Zach.
Because he's living in
sort of
a
hangs
pseudo
around.
apocalypse. So he's
Right.
Yeah. He's hanging around Willy Wonka, and he's like trying to help him come up with the secret formula, but it's really about Willy Wonka.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, because Zach lives in one of the new, like, super tall cities that are designed that, like, if the jam rolls through, then the higher levels of the city will survive.
Right,
and it's
right,
these, like, long tenement buildings.
Yes.
And he wants to help Willy. It's actually... Wait, why isn't his name Charlie?
Oh, wait, that's so
Because
much
he
better.
has to be a Billy or a Zach.
He does have
That's
to
true.
be
By our own laws, we cannot make him be named Charlie.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah. And okay. So now, I feel like in the end, Willy Wonka dies. He has to die.
He has
A
to
tragic death.
die.
And then
he has
that's
to
when Zach steps up
Yeah.
and becomes a man.
It's true. Well, because, I mean, it's got to be, like, you've got the jam, you've got the peanut butter. They're both heading for that center. And all that Willy Wonka can think is, what can I do to stop this? It has to be another factory. It has to be another thing that I build. And Zach, quote unquote Charlie, has to be the one to say, no, you're looking at it the wrong way. You need to look at it a new way. You need to stand in the center. And Wonka and Zach stand in the center as the peanut butter and the jam are coming together. And then someone else talks.
Right. But
And then they find out that the molecular compounds of the purple peanut butter devour the jelly, but in turn delete themselves from existence.
now that's an interesting question because we are locked into the title of Beware the Purple Peanut Butter. So
It will also eat humans.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good idea. Okay.
Okay,
It destroys
no.
everything it touches.
Okay. So Zach's like, you got to think differently. This is going to just be another monster. What we have to do is we have to reach out to Nolan's tongueless heart to get him to shut off his eternal jam engine.
Right.
Threaten him with the eternal destruction of the all-consuming purple peanut butter.
Right, because
Right.
we will destroy each other. It's the arms race. It's that Mask's arms race we were talking about before.
Right.
The spooky
Yeah.
arms race.
Escalation.
The only way to stop it is to find peace and to come together, much like two slices of bread with peanut butter and or jam.
And
Right.
they,
must come
at the
together.
very end, they share a nice sandwich.
They
well,
do.
now are you saying that I get a redemption arc?
I think you get a redemption arc.
Okay, because I was thinking that I don't get a redemption arc, and that I stay bad, and in the final conflict, like, I got the last laugh in the first movie because I got to be like, let's jam. Right? But then, like, Willy Wonka, he gets the last laugh this time, and he says something. What do you think he says?
Let's peanut butter. It's admittedly not as good.
It's not as good. It doesn't like have the snap to it.
But it's
he says,
let's nut.
you can't say that in Goosebumps. You can't say that in Goosebumps.
He said, let's nut.
It seems another class is at an end, but join us again next Friday for another lesson in terror.
He's developed a catchphrase.